Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy Walterdoom back on the new show called Film and Guts, and it's a project that I've been kind of like working on for a minute, just trying to come up with the name for, kind of think of the themes and everything like that for it. I know y'all are used to me talking about let's talk about horror, but I want to make a show that had a little bit more memorability to the name and kind of like a more sleek and easy, you could get that shit right away and everything like that. Like, oh, Film and Guts, Walter Doom, got it. I feel like I'm just like good with coming up with my own names, but naming shit is I feel like an emo band, like how early emo bands used to have those long ass fucking titles like My Chemical Romance is like one of their songs was you know what they do to guys that what they do to guys like me in prison. I think that's the name of it. But anyway, it's just like those long ass emo names. I believe whatchamacallit, what's that band? Fallout Boy. They did the same thing. They had their long ass title names for their songs too. I mean, I don't know why emo bands did that, but yeah, I felt like just let's talk about horror was a little bit too wordy, too much, too much to kind of like, for people to kind of handle. But anyway, also the format of the show is a little bit different now. Where we used to do like a lot of, well, not we, but what I used to like to do. I feel like always when I say we, I always feel like, it's like we as in we, the community and what have you, like y'all are with me and what have you. But I wanted to go through a different, like, in a way, format and kind of direction with the podcast. So for me, it's no longer like I'm just focusing on a lot of horror aspects. I mean, I'm still going to be talking about some aspect of the news, but there's not going to be so much of a focus on that. I mean, and actually the show is kind of split. So we have like two different splits of the show. There's going to be episodes based on what the show is. The show is called Film and Guts. So one show is going to be the film show, which is where I am going to review or talk about a movie that I watched, depending on what it is. It doesn't have to be a new movie. It could be like old or what have you. I used to try and focus on a lot of new movies, but I think nowadays, I mean, I just feel like I'm not really into like the whole trying to chase the algorithms or chase the audience into trying to get listens and views. It's just now at the point where I'm just like, fuck it. I want to talk about like whatever I want to talk about. If it doesn't monetize me, hey, fuck it, whatever. I mean, this ain't my job anyway. As y'all saw, I've been gone for like way too long. I just wanted to go into a different direction, different format with the show. So yeah, like I said, the film show will be more about like film reviews about movies that I've watched. So giving you my take, whether it's like a new movie, but more than likely it's going to be like not really a mainstream per se. I'm going to focus more on lesser known films in a way, or just like movies that are basically B listed or in a way, underground in a way, if that makes any sense. And then with the Gut show, it's going to be my opinion show. So that could range from anything from like how I feel about a film, maybe news that comes out, or just stuff that we see on social media, which is part of our episode today, which is in a way, I guess, will be our first Guts episode, which is focusing on this social media frenzy that's going on TikTok right now by this creator named I don't know how many of y'all actually like paid attention to what's going on TikTok. I myself am not really that in tune with the clock app like that. I am not really on there. Usually I'm just on there to post and leave. I mean, if you know me personally, that's all I do is just post and leave. I don't really hang out on TikTok or watch many videos or scroll TikTok. I really just think it's a fucking waste of time half the time. But to each his own. If you really do enjoy consuming TikTok, I'm not going to judge you. That is your prerogative. That is your thing to do. But this creator right here has created a video that kind of sent the horror community in a frenzy. And here are some of the things that she said.
I have to break my silence. There is something fundamentally wrong with you if you love horror movies. I've really been holding my tongue on this for a long time. Why do you want to be scared all the time? Why do you like gore? Why do you want to see blood and guts on screen when you could watch something nice? And you don't even have to feel nice when you watch stuff. You can you can watch something that's heart-wrenching or sad but just like blood and guts. And like I see it on dating apps all the time. Oh, I need to watch horror movies with somebody during spooky season. Shut up. Your idea of romance, you want me to come over to your house. Me, a woman, you, a man, famously violent murderers as a genre. You want me to come to you, a strange man's house, and watch violence porn? And then kiss? It's not gonna work for me. And it's become so mainstream. People are like, I love horror movies. Why? Not even suspense or thriller. Horror. I cannot get behind this. I will not get behind it. Horror is such a quick swipe left for me. I'm like, near. Why do you like that? That's fucking weird. I can't.
All right, community, horror community. We are under attack. We are under attack. Just so you know, we all got to come together. We got to put our differences aside. I know some of y'all like 80s horrors. I know some of y'all like art house horror. Some of y'all love slashers. Some of y'all love creature features. Some of y'all even like international films. But right now, our community is being under attack. Hear me. Hear me. Hear me. What the fuck is this bitch talking about? I'm just saying. When I heard this video, the first thing I was thinking of doing while I was on the clock app, I was just thinking like, damn, I need to go on there. I need to say some shit. I need to start like saying all types of like, that was my first thought. This is really like got me in a way triggered, because I hear it like a lot in my normal life where people kind of downgrade horror in a way. They're always saying like, ooh, why do you like that genre? Why is it? And I'm pretty sure some of you guys get some of that same reaction. I'm not saying everyone does, but I'm saying like some of y'all probably have friends, family who don't really like the genre and probably think your favorite genre is just ridiculous. I know for me in my personal life, I love horror no matter what. I don't give a fuck what anybody says, like, honestly, but you know, family members, they don't really care about that. I mean, I even had a family member say like my podcast wouldn't be successful because it's talking about horror films. You know, and it kind of stings a bit when it's your family that says stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's like, if it makes you happy, it makes you happy. Honestly, nothing makes me more happy as far as a movie genre than watching a movie like Scream, Terrifier, fucking Nightmare on Elm Street, you know, like films like that. I'm going to go ahead and break down some of the things that this woman is saying, and I'm going to refrain from my usual banter of saying like calling people bitches, and we're going to be respectful. It's a new leaf. Doom is going to have a new leaf, new show, new leaf, new change of character. But every now and then I might slip up and say this bitch. But anyway, So the first thing that this woman said on her TikTok is, and this is one of the points I want to get across, is that she says there is something wrong with you. And by the way, I mean, I am saying she. I don't know if she identifies as she. So I'm gonna just say she, they, or them, or they, them, probably. I don't know. Because I don't want to feel like I'm gonna get canceled if I misgender someone. But I mean, hey, whatever. She does call herself a woman in the video, so I think that's enough evidence right there. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say she. So she states in the video, there is something wrong with you if you want to see blood and guts. Now that's the first thing that struck a chord with me, because I don't know why people who don't watch horror, and I mean, I don't know how much horror this woman is actually watching, but I hate when people who don't watch horror, and it's usually people who don't watch horror, or they watch very little horror, and they say all horror is blood and guts. First off, as all of us as horror fans, we know not all horror is blood and guts. I don't like the whole one size fits all mantra that everyone tries to put on the horror community. We are a vast and, I want to say, very diverse genre. Yes, a lot of like the mainstream horror movies that get mostly pushed, I want to say. And if this person is talking about like the more popular movies like Scream or Terrifier, of course it's gonna be blood and guts. I mean, that's kind of like what the mainstream is pushing at the moment. Or even Saw. The thing is with horror, though, just like any other genre, the community works in trends as far as like the mainstream films. I mean, there's been many trends for like many different decades, like 80s. You had the slasher killer movies. That was the craze during the 80s. Late 90s to early 2000s, you had more meta horror and slash revival films like Bride of Chucky or Scream or I Know What You Did Last Summer. The other thing that this person has said is that, you know, instead of watching movies that are like Saw, which I feel like it's a shade at Saw, or even just Terrifier, they're saying like instead of watching movies like that, you could be watching something that's nice or sad or heart-wrenching, which is like led to assume that horror doesn't do that, which is not true. If you are a religious person that watches, well, I'm actually wearing this so wrong. If you watch horror religiously, is what I'm trying to say, you would know that horror is so versatile just because of like the key element of the genre is fear. You would know like the films that come out through the genre, they focus more on just blood and guts. I mean, I could tell this woman probably has never seen movies that are like Relic or The Taking of Deborah Logan or even Godless, The Eastfield Exorcism, or even I Saw the TV Glow, which I do have a episode on the way. But those movies are really sad. Like, if you ever watched those movies before, you would know, like, those are some really sad movies that would get you in your feels, especially for the characters in the film. She talked about heart-wrenching. I guess she never seen Sweeney Todd before. That was very heart-wrenching at the end, especially when Sweeney Todd killed his wife, which he didn't even know was his wife. Spoiler, by the way. But, I mean, that movie is so fucking old. Can you really spoil an old-ass movie? But anyway, that's another conversation for later. But yeah, you never seen Sweeney Todd? Have you seen Before I Wake? I mean, just to know that the canker man was actually dealing with the kid's mom having cancer, like, that really does get you in your feels. What about Train to Busan? Train to Busan was a really heartfelt movie, especially with that dad trying to protect his daughter. And just to see him having to be turned into a zombie and have his daughter go on with practically a stranger in the end, does that not get you in your feels in a way? Like, what about the first Quiet Place? You know, like, where the dad had to sacrifice himself to save his kids from the fucking aliens. Did that not get you in your feels? That was fucking heart-wrenching. And I could tell this person has never seen those movies before. To make that statement about everything is blood and guts, it's like, what movies are you really watching? What are you watching? Not all horror movies deal with blood and guts. There are movies that are very atmospheric and, I mean, have little gore and little violence, and sometimes they don't even focus on the violence specifically. Movies like Insidious, their franchise always focus on atmosphere, anxiety, creating paranoia, and just scares for you. What about Bedeviled? A movie about a app. Not really gory at all. Not gory at all. Terrible movie, but not gory at all. Scary stories to tell in the dark. Missing, even though it's horror adjacent, there are elements of horror in it, but that movie itself doesn't have any blood and guts. Pan's Labyrinth. That's another horror adjacent movie, but not so much emphasis on blood and guts, but more on fantasy and dealing with the horrors of reality. Incantation. Not really gory at all. Get Out. Not gory at all. Rosemary's Baby. Another movie that's not really gory. What about The Babadook? What about The Night House? I mean, there's countless other movies that are out there that don't deal with just blood and guts and just trying to create torture violence, or violent porn as she would call it. But moving on, I want to go on to other things that she said in the video. She did talk about, like, there's something wrong with you if you want a night and date watching horror movies. Now, I could kind of get what she's talking about in a way, but I mean, here's where kind of like I agree and disagree with her. So yes, I do think it is a bit weird if you're meeting somebody for the first time, or you're just like trying to get to know somebody, and the first thing you want to do is like have a date watching horror movies. I mean, it is a bit weird. I mean, but she does mention that, which is a key note in the video, that she does talk about like dating apps. And me personally, I mean, if you know me in real life, I mean, I think dating apps are the worst, honestly. Like, I feel like for men, it's such a fucking waste of time. Well, I'm gonna rephrase that a bit. If you're not the top 1%. Yeah, this is gonna sound very red pillish, by the way, but I do feel like it is definitely true. I mean, I feel like if you're not the top 1%, or celebrity, or what have you, or just somebody with, like, you know, financial stability, like a lot of financial stability, you're kind of wasting your time, honestly. Like, you're really wasting your time. I mean, I feel like apps is just, the dating apps, I should say, are just designed for ego boosting, for those that just need the ego boost. And I mean, it's definitely an unfair tool for men, honestly. But I mean, this is not a discussion about. I mean, this is not a podcast discussing about dating apps, dating life, blah blah, whatever. I mean, I could give less of a fuck about that shit. I've done it so many times, and it's just it was trash. It was honestly trash. And it might be just personal, but I mean, hey, that's just my take on it. It doesn't have to be anyone else's, but I mean, I've seen videos where men have had testimonials and talking about how dating apps is just a huge disadvantage for them. But we're not talking about that right now. You know, anybody that feels a way about that, I mean, hey, go ahead, leave your comment about that. But the thing is, I just think personally, dating apps are just trash because it's all just swipe left, swipe rights. You're not really creating conversation. And that's the thing too about dating apps is what I don't like about them. Is like, even when you do get a match with someone, and this happens to both men and women, I'm not going to say like this doesn't happen to women at all. But when it comes to messaging, you do get those moments of ghosting. It's like you match with someone, you get like a little conversation with them, or you get no conversation with them at all. And this is just based on the experience I've had with it. But being on the dating app is just it's just a huge waste of time, and it's so you could be doing other things like get your money up and all that, or just make a podcast talking shit about dating apps. I'm just saying, whatever like floats your boat, tickles your pickle, whatever. The biggest point I want to say is just like dating apps is weird. The whole culture of dating apps is weird. The whole actions behind what people do in dating apps is fucking weird. I don't understand it. I don't get it. It's dumb. It's like, why even be on there? But anyway, I think the whole idea of hanging out, watching horror movies, I feel like that should be a couple's thing. A couple, you know, two people that's already been together for a while. You know, maybe even like if you share a similar interest in horror movies, maybe it's like third or fourth date. Possibly, maybe more so a fifth date because you don't want random motherfuckers in your house like that. But yeah, just having a couple who share a complete interest in horror movies, I think that's how it should be tailored to. Like, it's weird. You're a fucking weirdo, I should say, if you're forcing somebody who doesn't like horror to come to your house and have a Netflix and chill moment and be like, hey, let's watch horror movies together just so you could get some ass later. But I mean, that's just me. But another weird concept of it is like the whole Netflix and chill idea. That really doesn't make sense to me all that much. I mean, especially like the weirdo motherfuckers that say like, because this is going back to the dating app. It's weird on the dating app that someone is actually putting like, oh, I'm looking for somebody for spooky season, which I'll move away from the Netflix and chill. I think I said enough about Netflix and chill, but let's move on to like the whole spooky season cuddle buddy bullshit, because she does have a point about that. Like, I myself do find it cringe that these people are putting on their profiles talking about that they want a cuddle buddy for spooky season. I mean, it's just as weird as when people used to put like, oh, I'm looking for somebody for cuffing season. I can't remember how many years ago it was, but this is like so long ago when I used to be on dating apps. But you know, there used to be profiles where they be like, oh, I'm looking for somebody for cuffing season and all that. Me myself, I mean, I'm old as fuck, so I never really understood what cuffing season was or or what it meant. And I'm like, when does cuffing season happen? It's like, why is there a season for cuffing someone? I mean, these are questions I'm asking myself. I mean, I'm just a motherfucker on the mic that likes to watch horror movies. That's all. I do find it weird when people are like, oh yeah, I need that special somebody for cuffing season and go on long walks and blah, blah, blah. It's like, bro, just say what you want to say. You just want some ass. You want some dick. That's all you want. Like, quit lying to us. But yeah, I always found that just really weird, but it always kind of brought me back to club cultures when I was like really young. Like when I used to be in my 20s and I used to go to the clubs, and this is when like clubs were a thing back in the day. I feel like club culture is not really a thing like that anymore, but I mean this is just going based off from what I've seen on YouTube. They talking about club culture is dying and all that. But I don't know, maybe club culture isn't dying. Maybe there are clubs that are still popping and what have you, but all I'm saying is early 2000s, that's the thing that was promoted most to us, is just hitting the club, getting your dance on and everything like that. But even club culture was kind of weird in a sense, because it was always that weird idea of like, if you do get a girl's number or if you get a guy's number, what have you, whatever each is on, you don't hit up the person the next day. You hit up that person 3 days after, which is like, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just like, I don't think like how motherfuckers think, but it's like, to me, it's like, if you're interested in a person, you'll hit them up and what have you. I could get like, maybe sometimes you get a little embarrassed because you probably talked to that person while you were like intoxicated or whatever. But at the end of the day, I mean, hey, you was vibing with that person. Maybe you just wanted to get to know that person a little bit more. But yeah, it was always kind of weird that it always went to that whole, oh, if you get that person's number, you can't hit them up like right away. But yeah, it's okay. It's like, if you take them home with you, yeah, that's okay to do. That's okay. You can fuck that person the same night, but you can't give them a phone call the next day. I don't know, man. Club culture was always fucking weird, and I'm glad that shit's kind of fucking dying. So these motherfuckers put it on themselves. But anyway, another point that I wanted to get to that this woman has talked about. She has a problem with movies being mainstream. Like, she has a problem with horror movies going to the mainstream. And she mentioned that it's going over genres like suspense and thriller. To me, I'm just like, what's wrong with that? Like, what is wrong with horror movies actually getting a place in the mainstream culture? I don't see anything wrong with it. And it goes back to what I was saying before about like how people who hate horror, they have this whole negative standpoint by it. They have the stereotypes and what have you. And they get this pretentiousness, and I really can't stand pretentious motherfuckers, honestly. But they have this pretentiousness to go and say like, well, horror is such a terrible genre. Why is it even like being glamorized or even liked by people? Why do people watch it? And it's simple, Karen. We love that shit, honestly. Okay, let me not call her Karen. Yeah, so yeah, I don't really like pretentiousness. It kind of reminds me of early 2000s when it was like the emo genre was making its way into the mainstream. And if you grew up in the early 2000s and you were into the rock scene, you would know a lot of like people who were rock fans did not really consider emo a likable genre, because it was that weird genre, and I mean that in quotation marks, that was meant for like the outcast, like it was the genre for those types of people. But the thing is like, emo music was fantastic. I loved like that genre of music. I love My Chemical Romance, my Aiden, my what's another band? The Sleeping and all that, man. I love those bands. Under Oath. Um oh my god, what's that band I'm thinking of with Ronnie Radke before he went all crazy? I mean, I think he's always been crazy, but my god, why am I blanking out on the name of that band? Oh my god, that is embarrassing right now. But uh, let me look this shit up right quick. I swear it's gonna kill me after a while because it's gonna pop up in my head before I see. And this always happens to me. I don't know why. Escape the Fate. Oh my god. Okay, so it took me actually seeing the name of the band to figure out it's Escape the Fate. But anyway, yeah, I love bands like Escape the Fate. That they were my favorite like listens when I was a kid, man. But the thing is, it's just not only pretentiousness outside of the horror community that is like very detrimental, because people like this creator is very detrimental to the community with their rhetoric about how they feel about horror movies. But sometimes we're detrimental to ourselves with our pretentiousness. Earlier I called for like all of us to come together because there is a lot of pretentiousness about what makes a horror fan. And even though like some people would say like, oh well, all you just need to do is love horror movies and you're a horror fan, there's a lot more nuance there than people are trying to put on and lead on, because there is a lot of pretentiousness about, well, if you don't love 80s horror and you just like contemporary horror, you're not a fan. You're just weird. Like you're just weird. Those aren't real horror movies. Those are just movies, and there's people who love remakes versus originals. And, people who love remakes get in battles with people who love original horror movies a lot of times. I mean, people might say, like, well, if you come out and say, like, you love the remake of Child's Play, you get the Child's Play truthers who love the first Child's Play and say, like, well, you're just a weirdo. That movie was fucking awful. But, by the way, I actually am one of those people that love the remake. I'm sorry, but I actually thought that movie was really good. I mean, it had a really good story about how computer technology could take over the world. It sucks because I feel like it shouldn't have been called Child's Play. Honestly, it shouldn't have been called Child's Play, But yeah, but we do have a lot of problems with pretentiousness in our community, and we do need to get better as a fan base with that. I mean, honestly, otherwise we get outsiders like her coming in, talking all this shit, all this mierda, and I probably said that awful. All my Latino people are like, dude, no, never again. Don't say it like that again. But yeah, she's talking all this mierda. I need to roll my R's better, but she's talking all this shit, and yeah, I mean, she's speaking it freely with her chest out and everything like that. Anyway, so right now I kind of want to before I get into the outro. Yeah, we're about to get into the outro pretty soon, y'all. It's not gonna be very long shows like let's talk about horror, but maybe, I don't know, we'll see. I want to get on to like theorizing, like possibly why did this woman even make this video in the first place? And this is just tinfoil hat doom happening. So, first thing I thought was like maybe she just did this for rage bait, honestly, because this woman is a comedian. She has her own stand-up comedy that she does. So I'm pretty sure she wants to like shine some light, and hey, what's the best way to shine some light is pick on some low-hanging fruit, and to not speak so harshly, but yeah, kind of like pick on the community where they know they're gonna get like a lot of clickbait and some flack about what they're saying. Maybe some people found this shit funny. I didn't really find this shit funny. Was this shit funny? I don't even know. I had a former friend that did the same thing. They kind of made a video that went like super stupid viral. I'm not even going to mention who the person is because I don't really want to bring clout to that person like that. And I'm not even trying to bring clout to myself mentioning this person, but you know, they made a video. It went viral. I thought it was some weak ass shit, by the way, because it was just it wasn't talking about anything. It was just a whole bunch of nothing. But because of what happened in this video, a lot of people were giving that social media sympathy and love for it, and it was more so lame than anything else, because I honestly think like what happened in the video was more of like a skit more than anything that was real. I don't think that shit was real at all, just because I know the person for so many years. Yeah, I just think like it was just all rage bait, and I can't stand that nowadays. A lot of things are pretty much on that rage baity level. I mean, you can't really identify what's actually there for genuine information or just genuine commentary, because it's all it all gets blurred because it's all in the same lines and what have you. But I honestly think like it was just a blatant rage bait video just to rile up the horror community and kind of shine some light on her comedy. I'm pretty sure some small dick motherfuckers was loving her shit, was like, yeah, talk your shit, fuck horror, like, you know, but fuck them motherfuckers. But anyway, moving on. I really do think possibly, because there is a lot of mention about dating apps in the dating scene, this can be a frustration dealing with the dating scene, but it's weird because you're kind of looping horror movies into it. But there is a lot of mention about the dating world, and I mean, like I mentioned before, I used to be part of the dating app world, and yeah, I feel what she's saying, because I hate the dating scene also. There's too many weirdos on there, people on there just to massage their egos, and that's about it. You only get like a few genuine people who actually want to talk and get to know you, and sometimes you end up meeting up with that person. Sometimes y'all vibe, sometimes y'all don't, but either way, the dating apps are just it's not the way to go. It's not the move. It's not the vibe. But last theory is, I mean, she just flat out spilling her guts about how much she hates horror and their fan base. And I could kind of see, in a way, how she could possibly hate the fan base. I mean, if you ever been on any Facebook group, and yes, I mean, I'm pretty sure all the young Gen Zers, Gen Alphas are like, Facebook, damn grandpa. Like, but real talk, if you ever been on a Facebook group page, it's really toxic. I mean, people say Twitter is toxic. Man, Facebook is just as toxic as Twitter. I wouldn't know how toxic Twitter is because I deleted my Twitter account like sometime earlier this year, and I don't regret it at all. I need to get off that barren wasteland that is produced by Elon Musk, who is also a fucking crazed racist. But let me not go there because some of y'all probably are fans of Elon Musk. But either way, I'm not a fan of him. Fuck Elon. Those cyber trucks are ugly as fuck. You know what? Maybe. Nah, you know what? Yeah, nah, I'm going in. Nah, fuck Elon Musk, man. I mean, all the shit that he's saying right now. But again, this is not the podcast where we talk about stuff like that. We talk about horror movies. So bring it back, Doom. Bring it back. But anyway, yeah, but I can understand like maybe the little vitriol this woman is having with horror fans and the community and the movies themselves, but the thing is like we are all not a one size fit all community. We are of different colors, different races, different ethnicities, different cultures, different love of horror, and it's all levels to this shit. Yes, the pretentious motherfuckers who are pretty much nepo babies or people who have been raised by horror maybe since like they were like 2, you know, kind of want to flex their pretentious muscles and kind of make people feel like shit for the movies that they like. But what genre of film doesn't do that? What genre of music doesn't do that? It's like there's gonna be pretentious motherfuckers that are within any fan base. There's always gonna be an annoying person in those fan groups. And there's always gonna be some level of toxicity no matter where you turn. But fuck this person for saying horror movies are terrible. You don't know shit. Doom out.
Now get my way, bitch.
Alright, y'all, so we are in the outro right now. So usually this is where I talk about movies you should check out, movies that I usually recommend. But here's the thing, this is a new show, new format, new shit that we're doing. So instead of me telling you what movies you should watch, I'm gonna tell y'all what movies I've been watching. Totally new shit. If y'all want to check those motherfucking movies out, by all means, do that shit. But other than that, I'm not suggesting shit anymore. But if y'all want to suggest shit, definitely leave it in the comments if you're on YouTube, or I think Spotify has some shit where y'all could like leave comments. I'll probably leave something there for y'all. But if not, I mean, do it on my Instagram. You know, y'all follow me on Instagram. If y'all follow me on TikTok, the Clock app, you know, make sure you label your shit as movie suggestion. Because I might not look at your message because I don't fuck with TikTok like that. But yeah, make sure you know, label it as movie suggestion. And yeah, I will try my best to suggest it on the show. But anyway, a couple of movies that I watch. Actually, I've been watching not really a lot of movies. I mean, honestly, your boy's been like going through a lot of things right now personally, but we're gonna leave that to the side because that's not what this show is about. But I'm gonna talk about like a few movies that I did watch, because yeah, this year has not been the best time for me watching movies. So let's see how much movies I get through from this year. By the way, that should be interesting. But anyway, few movies that I watched the movie Karen. They have it on Pluto TV. If y'all don't know, that's the movie that was made by BET. It's about the white woman who is trying to get the black couple out of her neighborhood, and she does all types of Karen shit, which is, it's very on the nose. It's very terrible. The writing is horrible. I mean, it's made by this dude that calls himself Coke something. I forgot his last name, but either way, bro has been getting the worst awards ever. He's gotten a Razzie. He's gotten like titles for worst director, worst writer. So it's very on par that this movie is terrible. And I might make an episode about Karen. Actually, I will make an episode about Karen just to talk about how bad it is. Maybe I'll talk about things that it did right, maybe things that it could have improved on if the writer had a stronger writing team, but maybe he did this on purpose to have this be terrible, but I don't know. Another movie that I am just so obsessed with from this year, I Saw the TV Glow. I rented this movie on Amazon. It is now on HBO Max. Yes, I am still calling it HBO Max. I am not going to call it Max. But I am obsessed with this movie. I've watched it so many times. This is probably where I'm like, damn, maybe I am depressed. But definitely is one of my favorite movies from this year. I seen Maxine in theaters when it was out. I think I saw it pretty much on the last week when it was out. Yeah, this is going all the way back to summer, by the way. It was all right. I liked it, but I think still like the stronger movies have been Pearl and X, with X being my absolute favorite from the series. I love Pearl, but I think X was like the better movie in my opinion. But moving on, Immaculate, I watched that on Hulu. It has Sydney Sweeney, and we're moving on from there. I think that same night I watched Last Night at Terrace Lanes. It was a pretty funny movie. It had a good story. I enjoyed it. It was about like this bowling alley that was closing, and then this cult was taking over and what have you, just killing a bunch of people. This movie did have a lot of blood and guts, by the way. But it wasn't. By my recollection, I don't think it was like gory to the fact of it was like Saw gory. It was gory, but it wasn't Saw gory. I know there's a lot of movies I'm going through, but another movie that I watched was The Blue Rose. I rented that movie on Amazon, and it was supposed to be like they wanted to call it a love letter to Stanley Kubrick, but it felt more like a David Lynch film of Mulholland Drive than anything else. But it was supposed to be a horror movie noir, and that's really what caught my attention about it. It could have been better. But I mean, it is what it is. But a movie that was better to me was Cinderella's Revenge, surprisingly. After watching Mousetrap, actually, and I forgot to put that on my list. I did watch Mousetrap, Mickey's Mousetrap, and that one was terrible, obviously. But we're not going to talk about that movie too much because I am planning an episode around that. But I watched Cinderella's Revenge. That was a good movie. If you like B horror terrible movies, but that are actually good, because this one actually was written halfway decent. It did have some halfway decent gore in it. And I mean, again, it's Cinderella. It's a twisted story about Cinderella. So don't expect anything too fancy or too like well drawn out or anything like that. This movie did what it was supposed to do, be a stupid movie and make it entertaining. Another movie that I watched that was also pretty decent was AMFAD, All My Friends Is Dead, Push Me to the Edge, All My Friends Are Dead. Hey, that one you could catch on Prime, but I feel like this movie is like everywhere because you could also watch this on Tubi, and maybe you could probably watch it on Paramount Plus. I'm not too sure because I don't have Paramount Plus anymore, but I just know for sure that this movie is like all over the fucking place and you can watch it. So yeah, this one is pretty decent. This one has JoJo Siwa in it, and guess what? JoJo Siwa is not in a lot of the scenes. She's only in scenes that are necessary for her. But the thing that really makes this movie good is that it had a double twist to it. So yeah, I really did love this movie. It was pretty decent. VHS Beyond came out not too long ago, and it was pretty good as well. I enjoyed it. It stuck more on a sci-fi horror level, except for one fucking movie, which was by Justin Long. This one, his movie was about furries, which I'm like, what did this movie have to do with aliens? I don't know. But a lot of the movies in VHS Beyond, dealt with sci-fi horror, more about the alien extraterrestrials. And they did bring back like the kind of like the story side of like, you have a prominent story and then you have all the little sub stories in the movie. I do like when they do that to the VHS franchise. Beyond was pretty good. So check that out. That came out on Shudder. And I rewatched Sociopathia on Tubi. So that was a good rewatch. I love that film. It was nice to see that one chick just murdering all her lovers and whoever else crossed her way. Yeah, beyond that, this is pretty much it. This is the first episode of Film and Guts. So, like I always say, this is America. Don't let them catch you slipping now. It's your boy Walterdoom signing out. If you want to follow me on social media, that is Walterdoom Horror on Instagram and TikTok. And I believe on YouTube as well. So, yeah, peace, love. Check y'all out next time. Peace.